Non-rock-a-boaters must stop. I don't want to rock the boat. I want to sink it.
Are you going to bark all day, little doggy, or are you going to bite?
Brett,
I love you, Jeff.
delusional, yeah. Delusional's okay in your worldview. I'm an animal. You don't chastise chickens for being delusional. You don't chastise pigs for being delusional. So you calling me delusional using your worldview is perfectly okay. It doesn't really hurt. She hung up on me.
What?
Desperate times call for faithful men and not for careful men. The careful men come later and write the biographies of the faithful men, lauding them for their courage.
Go into all the world and make disciples. Not go into the world and make buddies. Not to make brosives.
Right.
Don't go into the world and make homies.
Right.
Disciples.
I got a bit of a jiggle neck. That's a joke, Pastor.
When we have the real message of truth, we cannot let somebody say they're speaking truth when they're not.
Take an amazing journey to a place that will blow your mind and move your heart so you will never be the same again.
Truly, truly, I say to you, he who hears my voice and believes him who sent me has eternal life and does not come into judgment, but has passed out of death into life. John 5:24. What's up, y'all? This is Apologia Radio. It's the gospel heard around the world, everybody. I'm Jeff. They call me the Ninja. That's Luke the Bear right there.
What up?
And that's Joy the Girl over there.
Hello.
You can get more at apologiastudios.com. That's APOLOGIA studios.com. Apologiastudios.com. That's where you guys go to get hundreds of radio programs, podcast episodes of some of the leading theologians, scientists, scholars around the globe, all kinds of really great cultural engagement and even debate. Go to apologiastudios.com. Go look at the past episodes of Apologia Radio. You can also get, very, very cool, you can also get Sheologians, which is done with Joy the Girl and with Summer Jägermeister. And you can also get Cultish. Very cool show, doing some cool stuff. They actually just did a show on DMT and psychedelics. Really important discussion for Christians to get into right now.
Is that why Jerry was wearing those glasses and shirt?
I think, like, he
was getting into it, huh?
He looked a little different on that episode. But they did that episode, and it's up right now, apologiastudios.com. You can also go and get Provoked with Pastor Zach and Desi. All kinds of great stuff there for you. But more important, you can also sign up for All Access with Apologia Studios. When you sign up for All Access, you partner with us in this ministry. You make everything that's happening here happen, whether it's on the street evangelism, whether it's going out and teaching across the country, whatever is up at Apologia Studios on our platforms, you are a part of that with us. So people are coming to Christ constantly. I actually just ran into somebody at church. They came to visit from a different state with their husband. They were Latter-day Saint their whole life, born and raised, bred, and came to Christ, watched all of our content, and they're using the content now actually to minister to their family who are devout Latter-day Saints. So really cool stuff. And you're a part of that with us. So a big thank you to All Access partners with us in ministry. You're making all that possible. It is happening 24 hours a day. We have like... I think getting close to 60 million views on YouTube alone, and that stuff's just on rotation constantly. People are hearing the gospel, people are coming out of the cults, people are coming out of secularism and humanism. Babies are being saved, and that's all because of All Access, so thank you very, very much. Also, don't forget, if you have not done so yet, do so immediately. Go get your free account at apologiastudios.com for Bonson U. We have close to 500 lectures already done, improved the audio, all that stuff. There's close to 2,000 lectures, sermon series, seminary courses. This is an entire seminary education for free with one of the giants of the Christian faith. It's a gift to us from the Bonson family. We're making it available to the entire world for free. I want to say to all of our All Access partners as well, you're also making that possible. It's free to everybody because you are participating with us. So this is for Bible studies, for churches, for guys who want to be raised up in ministry, and It's for everybody, and it is just phenomenal. I cannot stress enough how incredible it is that you have an entire seminary education available to you for free, and it is top-notch. I would encourage devouring this stuff before, I would say, most of the seminaries across North America. I mean that. And it's free, free, free. So Bonson U, thanks to the Bonson family, get a free account and start devouring this stuff. It's going up. We have, like I said, almost 500 lectures already improved. They are going to be going up. It's a massive undertaking. I know that it's coming out slowly, but that's on purpose because we want it to be great. We want it to be valuable for you. We don't want to just do the information dump and take them all and throw them up and say, have at it. We want to actually make it coherent. We want to make it to where it makes sense to everybody and to where it's done in a way that's actually pleasing to the eye and easy to navigate. So Bonson U and what's going on? Coming up soon, I encourage everybody. I know we're giving the information dump right now on stuff going on, but I want to make sure I mention it. Pray for Apologia Church Utah. They are there right now. We have an open house on September the 3rd. Open house September the 3rd. We'll give you more details as we get closer. If you're in the Salt Lake City-ish area, Sandy, Draper, Provo, and the Valley there. If you're anywhere around there, we're going to have an open house for the church plant, Apologia Church Utah, September the 3rd. I'm going to be there. Pastor Zach's going to be there. And, of course, Pastor Wade and Deacon Andrew are going to be there. So September 3rd, keep it on your calendar. I'll give you more details as we get closer. Pray for the Fight, Laugh, Feast conference coming up in Lebanon, Tennessee. That is starting September the 9th. Where should they go for that, by the way? Do you know the website? We'll get that before
I'll
show
look it up right
ends.
now because I haven't.
So our buddies over at Cross Politic and with Christ Church are doing Fight, Laugh, Feast conference. If you're in the area, we're going to be there as well. Joy's going to be there. Summer's going to be there. Cultish is going to be there. We're going to be there. So very excited about it. Fight, Laugh, Feast, great conference. And don't forget that we are giving you the preliminary word that next May we are going to be having ReformCon 2022, and we are very excited about it. May here in Phoenix. Join us for that. We are finding a great resort to do it at with an amazing ballroom, great place to stay. We want to make this not just a place where you come and get talked to for 2 days, but we're going to have a blast. We're going to have all kinds of stuff for fellowship and time on the side. We're going to have really cool things happening on stage. It's a Christian conference, not a church service, so we're going to be highlighting a lot of really cool stuff, and we have great plans. So ReformCon 2022, just make plans to come here to join us and hang out with us in Phoenix in May 2022.
And that landing page should be up in the next week or so. So I think it's just reformcon.org. So watch for that. We will share it once it's up and available with all the details on that. As far as Fight, Laugh, Feast, it's just go to flfnetwork.com, and then right on the front page there's a button to click for conference in Tennessee, and I'll take you to the details of that.
Yes, and I want to make sure a final word on the upcoming events. I want to make sure everybody knows that we have a bill of abolition, a bill of equal protection going on right now in Pennsylvania. So a big thank you to all of our End Abortion Now partners. If you have prayed for us, if you're in this with us, and if you've given over the years to End Abortion Now to any degree, I want to just tell you about the fruit that God is bringing from that. Not only do we have many states this year that have put bills of abolition in that we've been able to be a part of and even write some of the legislation with Bradley Pierce, our attorney, but we have a bill of abolition happening in Pennsylvania. We're going to be in Harrisburg, September 25th, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, state capital, September 25th. I'm going to be there speaking at the rally for equal protection. This bill going in for abolition is taking place in Pennsylvania. Be in prayer for the other states we're working on right now. We'll announce as we get closer. But praise God.
We do have a link up for that, by the way.
Do we?
There's a link for that event in Pennsylvania. So.
Is it on the studio's Facebook page?
I don't think we've shared it on the studio. I'll do that right now,
there
actually,
we
as
go.
we're talking.
Pastor Luke will do that right now. Get the link for you guys up on our Apologia Studios Facebook page so you guys can find out all the information. You can join us in Pennsylvania, September 25th, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania at the state capitol. So big things, guys. I mean, Arizona, Texas, South Carolina, Pennsylvania. We have brothers that we're working with and sisters we're working with in Oklahoma. They put a bill of abolition in as well. Some stuff is happening in 2021. I know that the virus situation is ridiculous and out of control. And, it seems like the world is on a standstill right now, but so much is happening right now that is just such a gift to the church. So praise the Lord, and thank you to everybody who gives and has given at endabortionnow.com. Thank you so much. Churches are being added on a regular basis and are getting out there to save lives. Countless lives have been saved. I have no idea even now at this point how to calculate it. It's so many. So we are here today on Apologia Radio. We're going to talk about Rand Paul, the hero baby. And we're going to talk about...
He's not a baby. He's not a hero baby. He's a hero.
Rand Paul, hero baby.
Comma, baby.
Rand Paul, hero baby.
I
He's
don't
no
know.
hero baby.
I didn't know when he was a baby.
Yeah.
Maybe he was still a hero.
Rand Paul, hero baby. No, he's a man. He's a good man. And you were saying about his hair. You were saying
he has a very like Gene Wilder, like Willy Wonka-esque feel to it.
Right.
Like it's just like you didn't comb your hair today, did you, dude? Like
Well,
every time I see him, it's just like
you can only do that.
I feel like curly hair can already be a challenge, but then when you get to like short curly hair,
yeah, it's just what are you gonna do?
Wouldn't
it's
know.
just the.
Well, this is a trick. What's happening with me right now is a trick. Most people say, why do you always put that stuff in your hair? It's because you have two choices. You can have Durban like this, or you can have Durban fro.
Right.
And there's no way out.
Right.
I've tried my whole life. I inherited my mother's hair, which is just like this. And Sailor, by the way, sadly got my hair.
Really?
The other kids got Candy's side, but Sailor's got mine. It's total afro. I mean, she does everything she can. She's working hard. She's putting in work.
Yeah.
She's putting in work to make her hair not do.
Yeah, if you see a female with slightly curly hair and it looks nice, she put some effort in.
She's put some work in. Well,
tip your hat to her.
18 years old,
You
I
have a
discovered
hat.
hair glue, and I was like, well, this will at least keep it straight.
like Elmer's.
And pretty much, yeah, it's the same.
just
I use
ground up horse
I
hoof.
use the exact same brand. If they ever go out of business, I'm gonna be like scrambling for a week to figure out what is like this, because otherwise it's just straight up gangster fro. So
I've seen it. He's right.
What? It's true. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, he's curly hair. Rand Paul the
Yeah.
hero. Rand Paul hero baby.
Hero baby. Yeah.
Rand Paul hero baby.
Curly-haired hero baby.
I sort of think like you can only get away with a hairstyle he has if you're an awesome hero baby.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and he's sort of like always pushes the line a little bit. So he's like, what do you want? A clean-cut looking politician? Not going to happen.
What are you going to do? And he is straight up truth gangster with Fauci. I mean, he was like the first guy, I feel like, that really just dropped the mic on Fauci and just kept going. My other guys are sort of like, maybe they'd say little things to Fauci and like kind of jab him a little bit. No pun intended, jab. The jab.
I get you. I'm with you.
Let me explaining the puns. When you have to explain a pun, it's no
not
longer
worth
good.
it. It's move on.
But other guys are more like, the
moment's gone.
Let me just send over one missile. I feel like Rand Paul was like, I'm gonna take you down completely. And so anyway, if you don't know, Senator Rand Paul, senator from Kentucky, which my wife loves. She's always very proud when I talk about Rand Paul from Kentucky. She's born from Kentucky, right?
Right.
From Kentucky.
Yeah.
Just so you know. She always mentioned, like, she's told me like 10,000 times when I talk about, oh, Rand Paul did this, he said this. And she's like, did you know he's from Kentucky? I'm like, baby, we had this conversation like literally 10,000 times.
She's like, did you know that all great people come from Kentucky?
And did
you know
that I'm from Kentucky?
Even a blind squirrel finds a nut now and then.
So, if you didn't hear, hopefully you saw the original video. We're going to play some of it here. And let me just say to the YouTube censors, let me just say this. I have to plan this. They took the video down of Dr. Rand Paul, Senator Paul, speaking to the American public about don't submit to this. We're going to play that video in a second here. And let me say to the YouTube censors, with a lot of respect, those who have been suppressing content, I know you have your rules, so I'm going to go ahead and say that everybody has to hear that there's another side to this, and we're going to hear from Dr. Fauci as well, but the claim was made that Dr. Rand Paul's video was taken down because he only talked about one side. He didn't talk about the other side. So let me let everyone know that the CDC and others do say that masks work, and they say that the vaccinations work, and they say that there's good science about it. They say. And so that's what I want to say to all the YouTube censors. You're watching this right now, and if this video gets taken down, we're just going to show the video and say we gave both sides. Rand Paul has a side, and this other community has a narrative, hashtag side. And there's that as well. So just so everyone knows, there's two sides to this, which is good because the Proverbs does say one person's case sounds true until another one comes to examine them. So there's nothing wrong with, I guess, having both sides presented. So we're going to play some of Dr. Fauci's side on the masks and whether they work and all the rest. But before we do, I wanted to look over to Joy. Joy, you look like you wanted to say something.
Oh, I did have something. I had something prepared.
I'm down.
It's fun.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
It's fun, and it's a
We
little
already
bit
have
of an
people
exercise.
complaining that we're having fun, by the way. So.
Right. Yeah. Well,
let me
that's
just go
always
ahead
happens.
and just say, Apologia Studios exists today because first it was Redemption Radio, and then it started Apologia Radio, then we got to Apologia Studios. But the flagship show of this entire place, the thing that makes the wheels spin, is Apologia Radio. These guys.
Jazz hands?
These guys. And if you go back, and that's what I'm saying, go back to apologiastudios.com, listen to some of the early episodes. Here's what we like to do. We like to have fun. We like to laugh. We like to fight. And yeah, that's what we do. So we do a lot of fighting here. We do a lot of deep theological examination, and we do a lot of laughing.
Not literal fighting.
And not with each other, with the world. And then we laugh. And we have a good time. So we're going to do that right now. Before we do like the serious conversation about public education and Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci, we're going to have some fun. All right. So
well, and this is honestly that it's quirky, but it's also a critical thinking exercise. So we'll walk through it and we'll see just what we have to say.
Okay.
Okay.
And you guys listening, you can feel free to live put in the comments your answers as well.
I'm sure they will let me know that they just want to get to the part where Jeff talks about theology. I'm sure they will let me know.
Right on.
Which I've been, just so you guys know, I've been listening to Jeff talk about theology for over a decade.
For over a decade, 12
and
years, 13 years.
And it's still always, no matter what, involves like some sort of community or fellowship. So if you don't like that, that's the Jeff way. If you're here for Jeff, that's the Jeff way.
That's how we do it. Okay.
Okay. So I am here to tell you about an alpaca in Britain.
Okay. That's a llama, correct?
No. They're not the same, but they're similar.
Oh.
But they are different. I think alpacas are smaller and some other things, but they are different from llamas. They're not.
I didn't know that.
They're not the exact same thing.
But
this is also a learning show. This is a learning show.
So you're going to learn things. You actually, Joy, just so you know, Joy knows a lot of things. She has facts on facts on facts.
I do.
And
on trivia night, I'm going strong.
That's true.
Well, there could be just quickly. I think that's great to know because I can maybe start a children's book and build wealth for my family and my grandchildren by starting a book that says, "Is your mama an alpaca?" Because there's the "Is your mama a llama" book,
right? And obviously not.
It's not a copy. Yeah. It's a different thing.
And alpacas are being underrepresented in the
totally
media,
underrepresented,
as we all know.
Show me the alpaca children's book section. That's what I want.
Okay, so there is an alpaca over in the UK, and his name is Geronimo. And it has been determined.
So he's a Native American alpaca.
I know. I was going to say cultural appropriation much.
I know. Please.
He's from New Zealand originally.
Oh goodness.
And then they brought him to. I don't know. I could have probably researched more about how animals travel the world, but
say that's a long
I don't know how you.
That's a long.
I'm just imagining him like with his little hoof crossed and like a newspaper on the airplane.
We know what's funny. Real quick, we were watching some of the Olympics and they had like the horse stuff, and I just assumed that they, the horses like went on a boat like to Japan.
They got their horse.
No, they fly. The horses fly on an airplane.
Oh, nice.
Didn't know that.
Wow.
I wonder what it's like to be a flight attendant on a horse flight.
I don't know.
Sir,
know that.
Did you want the chicken or beef?
Hay. I want the hay.
Do you guys have hay? Do you have hay?
There's a fun fact for you. Horses do fly sometimes in airplanes.
That's amazing.
Not like the horse.
I mean, like, they've got to be massive planes.
It's got to be like
planes
a cargo.
are kind of massive.
A cargo plane. That's an expensive flight.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay, anyway, so the British Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs, known as DEFRA, has determined...
You're such a DEFRA. That sounds like a total kid insult. All right, DEFRA.
They've determined that Geronimo has bovine tuberculosis, and he needs to be... exterminated.
This
Put
is
down?
a sad
They
story.
say culled.
Put down.
That's their
Taken
word
to the
for
farm?
it. Their polite British word for
Your
kill him.
microphone has a mind of
Kill
its own
him.
today, doesn't it?
I know it keeps moving away from my mouth. Maybe it's a sign. So anyway, the British government has a warrant to come cull him or kill him in the next 22 days. But the owner is very insistent that Geronimo does not have a bovine tuberculosis. And so she has enlisted the help of a group that is now calling themselves Alpaca Angels.
Oh God!
Is this like a motorcycle gang?
Yeah, that's what I'm imagining. Yeah, with a big llama patch on.
Yeah.
Well, not a llama. Ooh, sorry.
I'm
It
pulling
would be
up
an
on you.
alpaca.
An alpaca with wings.
I'm pulling up on you,
Little-
Durfa.
Little halo.
Yep. Oh, an alpaca with like a knife in its hand or something.
Oh man, look, it's the Durfs versus the Angels. It's the Durfs versus the Angels.
Yeah. So anyway, dozens of people who are now calling themselves the Alpaca Angels showed up to her farm, and they've been taking shifts for several days to make sure they're there in case someone tries
Protection.
to come.
Man.
Which means that the government can come onto her property, have a warrant to come onto her property and
Kill your animal.
kill one of her animals, and I'm assuming take it away. The government is saying that this is obviously a huge problem because it can infect cows, and that then they have to exterminate tons of animals and all this stuff. Anyway, there's two sides, right? So anyway, the Alpaca Angels, one of the things they're there to do is to protect him and potentially form a human chain if necessary.
Wow.
That's what one of the spokespeople
They obviously don't
said.
have guns, so they must have knives and hatchets.
No, but you can kneecap in the UK, as
This
far
is
as I
true.
know. So
This is true.
I mean, I don't
Kneecapping
know
is
if you can.
permissible.
I don't know if you can kneecap Defra if they come to your house, but and then also about 30 people were marching the streets locally to protest the killing of Geronimo.
About 30
About
angels.
30.
Bring it, Durfs.
Yeah,
And then
pitchforks and
there was also
torches.
a petition. 100,000 people signed a petition to protect Geronimo and other camelids, which is what an alpaca and a llama are.
Yeah, it's
I'm
official.
Learning
assuming
a
a
lot this
camel as well.
Camelids.
Camelids. Is that the vice president?
Camelids. Camelids Harris.
Oh man. Oh man.
Wrong spelling.
Yeah, well.
But so the
shut up.
interesting thing here is, I mean, it struck me how many people were willing to show up for this alpaca.
30?
And well, hundreds of thousands,
Oh, okay.
and then dozens.
30
of
was the
angels.
one, yeah.
Dozens overall of angels, and then 30 protesters.
Okay.
But they're convinced he doesn't have TB, and so there's this whole drama going back and forth between the government and this alpaca owner and a vet that she's enlisted, and she's basically created this huge group, this little, well, it's not huge, but it's big enough for
My mind goes to creative sort of like branding and like marketing of saving said alpaca.
right.
So he's got tuberculosis is the claim. They
Right.
should do like all kind of like just amazing stickers where they have like an alpaca with a Doc Holliday hat and it says "I'll be your Huckleberry" or something like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because Doc Holliday had
I just learned
tuberculosis.
something about that.
So did I. Huckleberry was
It's
the
not
pallbearer.
It's not Barry.
Right.
It's
Bearer.
He says bearer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, he did not.
Yeah.
And I went and watched it. And I was like,
He does say?
did?
Yeah, it
Pallbearer?
basically means
Yeah.
that he would be the pallbearer.
Pallbearer,
As
yeah,
opposed
the
to
guys that hanged
Huckleberry.
on to
I
the
didn't know
huckle
that.
was the
Yeah.
the huckle
I
was the
heard
handle
that
on
too.
the
Here, I thought he was talking about a tree this whole time.
yeah. Oh man. Oh, by the way, speaking of, go see on Amazon Prime. Go watch Val.
I know.
Oh,
I need to.
My heart is just breaking.
I was sad watching the
Like,
trailer.
Well, I don't even know what it is.
15 minutes. Val Kilmer puts.
Oh,
he,
Val.
You know, he's got his
Yeah.
throat cancer, and so he talks like he looks just a wreck, and he talks
Yeah.
through. Oh, he's so sad. Like I love Val Kilmer growing up and watching all his movies and everything else as a kid. I'm an '80s kid, so
Right.
that's what I grew up on. And just to see him in the condition he's in, and like having to talk through this, and his voice is really rough, and it's just basically he created this film because he's always filmed with his own video camera when he's on sets and everything else. His whole life as a kid he filmed, so he puts that all together and makes this amazing movie. It's really touching and sad, and go watch it, Val. Really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, by the way, I forgot to tell you this. I get a phone call, and then we'll go to
From
Rand
Val?
Paul. Everyone needs to hear this because I said I was going to talk about it on my platform. I get a phone call from Maricopa something services, and they're like, "You owe us $250." And I'm like, "I'm sorry? Can you explain
Who
how?"
are you again?
And they're like, "Yeah, this is from an event 10 years ago or something like that." And they were like, they start talking about it, and it's Maricopa County Animal Services. I'm like, "Oh, and you're just now getting this?"
Panda?
So Panda, my little Yorkshire
I know exactly
Terrier,
what you're
little
talking
Yorkshire
about.
Terrier. Now you guys got to hear this. It's crazy. Talking about government killing animals, right?
Right.
Mine was kidnapped, and they threatened to kill him unless I gave him a ransom. That's literally the situation.
Right.
So my little dog runs out of my gate because there's kids out in the park and they're going crazy, and he just runs like circles around him and like barks and scares him to death. So someone called Animal Control. Animal Control shows up in my house, and they're like, "We need to come take your dog," and we're like, "Why?" And they're
I
like,
was there that day.
yeah,
I was
they're-
at your house that day.
exactly. And so they didn't ask us our side. They didn't ask if anybody was injured and like what happened. Like, I mean, there was no like investigation before they determined we're taking your animal. They just took someone's word. They took the animal and then they brought it to the shelter. So I go to the shelter. This is at the beginning of Apologia Church as a church plant. We have no money. We're barely surviving, even able to get food, sort of a thing. And I go and I'm like, "Hey, you didn't really even like question and investigate, and like nobody would. There's no injury here." And they were like, "Well, you have the dog now." And they said, in 4 days, I think it was 4 days. They were like, "In 4 days, we're going to euthanize him." And I said, "You just took my dog?"
Call him.
Yeah, call him. I said, "You just took my family dog and you're going to kill him with there's no court case? I can't fight this. There's nothing." They said, "Well, it's just, how our procedure." I was like, "So you took a family animal, no injuries, and you're going to kill my dog unless I pay you what?" And they were like, "It's $250. And I said, "So you're asking me for a ransom? Like, you took my dog and you're going to kill my family's animal unless I pay you
Just
a ransom."
like it's nothing. It's nothing.
And they were like, "That's just what we're going to do." And I was like, "I don't know what to say." I said, I'm going to leave here and go to the news. Do you how's this going to sound on the news?" And they were like, "Well, sir, you can take your dog and then, we'll send you a bill." And I said, "Okay." And so I got Panda at that moment. I get Panda.
A bill for what?
And so a bill to not kill him, I guess. And so anyway, so then I began to fight it. And so then they set a court date. And so we had all the proof we needed. So we went to the court date. They didn't show, and the judge threw the case out because there was no evidence of injury or anything. They said, "Oh, this is stupid." So
But you still owe for his lodging.
so then
or
10
what?
years later, they sent it to some like a state collection thing.
Yeah.
So it was awesome. I just said to the person, I said, "Let me just say to you that I respect what you're doing, because if somebody truly owes money, they have to pay. I'm a pastor, and if somebody owes, they got to pay. It's the right thing to do. It's the just thing to do." I said, "But let me just tell you, this is not good for you." And I whispered it, Joy. I did.
Like you pulled a Biden on him?
I did. I did
come
about
close.
come closer so I can talk to you. I was like, "This is not good for you." And she was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "Let me tell you the story." And then I told her, and she was like, "Oh, let me get my manager." And the manager comes on, she's like hardcore. And I just got her, and I said, "Let me tell you what's going on." And I was like, "This is not good for you." I said, "Because I will let everybody know that Maricopa County takes people's pets with no investigation, and then they threaten to kill them without a ransom. And I'll do it, and I'll make sure the world knows. And I'll make sure I tell them about you as well, because you're not going to let it go. This is just tossed into your lap. It's not." I was like, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault." And they basically were like, "I think you're right." And they just, so anyway, it's all done. But I'm still dealing with a 10-year-old thing with the state. Even though the judge just threw it out, there's like no evidence of anything. And so, yeah, you win. It's out. And then 10 years later, this random phone call to like, "You owe us $250. I'm like, "Oh, that was the ransom you're still trying to collect for trying to kill my dog."
Meanwhile, the Tempe bread man's allowed to roam around creating havoc door to door.
You know what I'm
Remember
saying?
the Tempe bread man?
Remind,
Oh yes,
He was like a homeless
man.
dude with a loaf of bread. And
Yes.
he would like run up to your window and bang on the window
Yeah.
with his loaf of bread. It happened more than once.
Yeah, Tempe
So he
bread
was
man.
a Tempe bread man.
Tempe.
Same time.
Tempe.
Same time period.
Luke has such
A
an
wild
amazing
place.
memory. He has
Yeah.
such a, like, you have like, what's an animal that has an elephant?
An elephant.
Elephant. He's like an. He
I have a stomach like an
called you
elephant.
Luke the elephant. That is true. That is true.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess what really I found compelling about the article was just that I guess he tested positive like 3 years ago, but hasn't had any symptoms. And then she found a company. Well, no, she found a vet that was like, yeah, they have a false positive because it's a bovine test.
Hearing about a lot of
So
false
they
positives
have
last year.
So yeah, so they were saying that he's experienced instances of false positives because they're doing it on an alpaca, not a cow.
Oh.
And then she's had this apparently ridden with TB alpaca who hasn't had any symptoms, no weight loss, no nothing. None of her other animals have bovine TB, and the government says that everything she's saying isn't true, and that they will not reverse.
Are they requiring him to
decision.
wear a mask?
He's in isolation.
The state be
Poor
killing.
guy.
But yeah, they're just allowed to.
Free-
I don't know.
Be
I just
killing.
thought it was interesting
Free
because
Geronimo.
it seems like they have a
Hashtag.
pretty. Oh, some people are there. Are you an angel now?
No, I said
'Cause
hashtag
just so
free
you know,
Geronimo.
that's not the hand
That's-
signal for the
that-
alpaca's angels. It's
What is
this.
Oh man. Yeah, what's noises an alpaca make? They run through the
Oh.
streets. They're
No,
like,
they're
they're like yelling in the street. Oh man. All right, here we go. On to Dr. Paul, Senator Rand Paul, Kentucky. All right, again, I will say, come on in, Pastor Zach.
we perfectly nailed that right
Come
in the
on in,
middle.
Pastor
Look at that.
Zach.
That was like perfectly
Hey, everybody.
30 minutes.
It's Pastor Zach, everybody. Make sure you guys watch Provoked. He's bringing
Hi.
Pastor Lucas coffee.
Thanks, dude.
So, it's Senator Rand Paul.
a lot of coffee.
I will say it again for everyone who's come in. He has had his account locked down for, I believe, 7 days because apparently, you have to give two sides to the story. You're not allowed to just give your opinion anymore in a YouTube video. So, two sides. So, everybody knows there are medical professionals that disagree with Rand Paul's advice. Now, I'm only saying that because I'm required to so that this video doesn't get taken down, apparently. This is a news commentary portion of our show. This is news and commentary. I am just playing for you Senator Rand Paul's words, and I'm also letting you know that there is another side to this where people say that Rand Paul is lying to you. I think you know where we stand on the issue, but we'll go from here. So this is Senator Rand Paul's video that got him locked down on YouTube for 7 days.
It's time for us to resist. They can't arrest all of us. They can't keep all of your kids home from school. They can't keep every government building closed, although I've got a long list of ones they might keep closed or might ought to keep closed. We don't have to accept the mandates, lockdowns, and harmful policies of the petty tyrants and bureaucrats. We can simply say no, not again. Nancy Pelosi, you will not arrest or stop me or anyone on my staff from doing our jobs. We have either had COVID, had the vaccine, or been offered the vaccine. We will make our own health choices. We will not show you a passport. We will not wear a mask. We will not be forced into random screenings and testings so you can continue your drunk with power reign over the Capitol.
Ooh, I like that.
About time,
It's
somebody.
about time that someone in a position of authority started talking like this.
Not that he hasn't been, but
No.
Right.
No, he's always been
but
consistent.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
has, yeah.
to like go hard like this. Is
But one of
very
the things
refreshing.
that's so, I think, incredible to me about this question about the vaccine, about having already had it, is that it is undeniably scientific that if you have had this viruses, that you have these protections in your system for a long period of time. I mean, there are people today alive that actually have the antibodies for the Spanish flu. The Spanish flu.
You talking about Dr. White?
Yeah, right. Dr. White.
Oh, that was the Inquisition.
Yeah, no, it's insane. So what we know about science, what we know about medicine, what we know about biology, what we know about the immune system, we know how this works. And so the question is, why are you going to force people to get a passport, to get a vaccine, who have already had the virus? That's the question. You know, I'm somebody that's had the virus. I had it. I got through it. Luke had it, got through it. Probably had it, got through it.
Yep.
Lost your taste and smell.
I didn't. I actually had the weirder variant of that, which is that everything starts tasting really bad.
Oh,
or like
Oh,
has
that's-
like
a lot of people
has
awful.
like a chemical or like burn.
exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, Candy had that. She had
Mm-hmm.
she first had the I don't taste or smell anything. Then it was everything tastes like chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
Really strange. So here's a group of people that have already had coronavirus, already had it, and we have the benefit of what the vaccine tries to shoot for. We can have a whole discussion about that. We have God's. And so why would I want to now put myself and my family into a position where I get the vaccine? My entire family has had it. Why would we get the vaccine on top of the natural immunity that we already have when it is actually demonstrable that getting the vaccine when you've already had the virus is actually more dangerous? It could cause more harm. Why would I put myself in a situation where even if you argue the vaccine is great, you love it, it's your favorite, it should be done, fine, that's your position, okay? We're not going to debate that right now. But why would I put my family in a position where we've already had coronavirus and recovered from it to put myself in a position to possibly get injured by anything? Why would I do that? And that's Rand Paul's point. Why are we going to do vaccine passports and you're going to be doing these things to us when some of us have already had this? All right, the benefit that you're trying to get from the vaccine, we've already got it. All right, and so why are you going to force me to show a passport? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm allowed to make a decision over what impacts only my body, myself. And so I like what he's saying here, though. This is really, really important for us in terms of his foundation is we don't have to do this. Don't comply. That's really, really important because I think it hasn't taken long for us to get to a place, I think, as a culture where we say, I guess we just have to comply. I guess we just have to do this.
Romans 13.
Everybody else is doing it. I guess we all have to submit. No, we don't. No, we don't. I don't have to submit. The ultimate authority is God. And it's interesting when Jesus answers the question, he does it in a brilliant, brilliant way. When they ask a question like, the inscription on the coin, do I pay taxes to Caesar? That portion where Jesus just says, give me the coin. Like, whose inscription is that? Like, whose face is that? Well, that's Caesar's. Great. So give to Caesar what belongs to him. Give to God what belongs to him. So the question is, whose image are you in? There's an image also stamped in you. And so, who do you belong to? Who has ownership over you? It's actually it's a devastating critique Jesus gives even in the question, is that we're in the image of God, and so give all of you to God. And my children are also in God's image, and so I'm giving them to God. And the government doesn't have their stamp on my children.
Right.
My children are not made in the image of Caesar. They're made in the image of God. And so I'm giving to God what belongs to him, which is my children, my family, myself. And so I don't have to comply. I don't have to comply with things that are ultimately tyrannical. I don't have to comply with things that are destructive, that are questionable in their appeals to a scientific narrative. I don't have to comply. And I love that Dr. Paul is appealing to that. No, you do not have to comply. Commentary?
He's a gangster. That's all I got to say.
Agreed.
Love them. All right, more from Rand Paul. Again, if you're getting to the show just now for the first time, this is the video that went viral across many platforms, but YouTube locked his account up for 7 days for this video.
President Biden, we will not accept your agency's mandates or your reported moves towards a lockdown. No one should follow the CDC's anti-science mask mandates. And if you want to shut down federal agencies again, some of which aren't even back to work yet, I will stop every bill coming through the Senate with an amendment to cut their funding if they don't come back to work in person.
Woo! That's what I'm saying.
Man, that's great.
That is what I'm saying. See, that is what I was saying from the very beginning in terms of, fine, you're a mayor, you're a governor of a state, you want to lock people down, you want to force people to not get paychecks, not be able to feed their kids, You wanted to destroy 50% of the businesses in Kauai, for example, where we've been and we've tried to minister to those people. We've seen those people face to face. I've seen those people living in their cars. These are people that had generational businesses in Kauai, generational businesses that are living out of their cars, and their business is was either on the brink of shutdown, like literally days away, or they've shut down, like a ton of businesses. This is an important conversation, because what I was saying was that, fine, you governor, you mayor, you want to shut people's businesses down and tell them to stay home and don't go to work, and you want to do everything you can to destroy their livelihoods. Okay, show me how committed you are to that position. Stop taking a paycheck. Don't take a paycheck. Like, why do you continue to get paid while you're telling all the citizens that you supposedly represent that they're not allowed to get paid, or they should just forfeit, their paycheck as an offering to Caesar, sort of a thing? No, don't get paid. Like, I would respect the governor or mayor who says, hey, as long as I'm going to lock this place down, I'm going to stop receiving a paycheck. I would actually respect a mayor or a governor for saying that. Like, if they said, hey, we're going to do 2 weeks, I'm going to shut everyone down for 2 weeks. You know what I'm going to do, just to have solidarity with you, is I'm going to refuse my paycheck for the 2 weeks that I am saying we have to shut down for like this medical emergency. I'd say, you know what? Maybe I don't agree with the reasoning behind this, but I at least got to say, hey, I respect you for making sure that there's solidarity there. But none of them did that. They just said, lock you down for however long, indefinitely, destroy your livelihoods, your homes, your families, your businesses, your savings, and I'm going to continue to get paid and go to fancy restaurants and all the rest. And this question about mask mandates, this is really important.
I'll say real quick,
Yeah.
this is why this is so important, though. I'm sure everyone's noticed, like, everywhere you go, people we're hiring signs.
Oh, gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many people are sitting at home collecting unemployment, or whatever you want to call it, COVID benevolence from Father Biden. So they're making more money sitting at home on their duffs than they are working. So everywhere you go, every restaurant, they're hiring because they can't find people to work.
Always
so that
short staff
affects that. I just spent 2 weeks in California, San Diego, and I was appalled at how expensive food was.
Yeah,
it's always expensive in California, but it was like to another level. Where for my family of 4, anytime we went out to eat, it was a minimum of $100. So I started to notice things, and I started doing some math. I would say on average, things are 20% more. Food and goods are like 20% more. Like, for example, a box of diapers I get here all the time for my son, $25. No, yes, $25. California, $30. 20% more. Just, like you go to a restaurant and I would see 3 and 4% surcharges off the top because of the increased cost in minimum wage. Or $1.98 COVID tax to go eat somewhere. Yeah, like, so that's why this stuff's so important, because it trickles down and then it affects the consumer,
everybody. And
I'm like, I barely made it out of there by the skin of my teeth in 2 weeks because of the cost of food.
Right.
A gallon of gas was $5.
Well, and you're talking about
$5.
You're talking about a state that relies on their tourism. I mean, they have plenty of success independently of any other state, but they tons of half their population probably is in the service industry.
Right.
Yeah.
And
everywhere I went in San Diego was a tourist spot.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And this was a new one too. And I know I'll shut up after this, but I've never had this happen before. You guys have been to Ocean Beach. We love going to Ocean Beach. It's like our people, right? It's like Kapaa Town in Kauai. And there's a comic book store there. My daughter always loves to go to the comic book store. So I go. This is the weirdest thing, dude. I go, like, there's a double glass door. One of them's shut. And the other one's open, but there's like a bar over the metal detector thing. And I'm like trying to figure out, like, they open or they close? What's going on? And I hear this voice from behind the glass. Are you here to pick up your order? And I was like, order? Like, it's a comic book store. What are you talking about? And he had like this picture, like you had to pick a bottle of soda to buy from him so that you could enter the store.
Why?
Because there was this whole explanation about keeping small businesses alive, and he didn't want people just walking in, looking at stuff and leaving COVID behind. So I had to buy a $3 bottle of soda for my kids.
So he taxed you to taxed you.
I'm like,
store.
what
his
just
own personal
happened?
tax.
Isn't that the?
I mean, anyways,
the store. That's why this matters.
Wow. Yeah.
People don't think about the ramifications.
Yeah, how it destroys your neighbor. And so why should we care about? And here's the theological examination of this situation. Why should you care about this? Is it just political, partisan like politics? Is that what it is? That was 4 P words right there. Is that what it is?
Paul.
With Paul.
Alpacas.
Political party, partisan politics with Paul. Is that what it is? It's just you're picking your favorite team and you're just like, this is my team, America, that sort of thing. No, this is about, from a Christian perspective, loving your neighbor. It's not loving the neighbor to force them to do something to their body that is against their will and could be destructive to them and to their family or to their future. It's not loving to your neighbor to force them to wear something over their face that we'll play Fauci in a minute about how he feels about that, that could be potentially harmful to them. It's not loving to your neighbor to destroy their business and their livelihoods and their ability to feed their children. It's not loving to your neighbor to have the, you know what, we could do. We're gonna talk eventually about this. Inflation. Inflation is stealing. It's stealing. Why should we care about inflation? Because it's theft. It is theft. You get away from the gold standard, you get away from silver, you get away from a lot of stuff, and you just start making up, you just start creating paper money by fiat. You start doing what you're doing now, where you're actually putting a huge burden of slavery upon our future generations with all of this debt. That's not loving to my kids, my grandkids. It's not loving to families to force them to a situation where now they're paying $5 a gallon for gas when just a year ago, you remember the prices. It's not loving. It's hateful to your neighbor to destroy the economy in such a way that it impacts everybody. It's not loving your neighbor. Do unto others as you would have them do unto yourself. Okay, so the question about the mask, because that's the portion we are right now on Dr. Paul's discussion here. The question about masks, this is, I believe, what got him in trouble, is that he didn't give both sides. So let me give both sides. So to our YouTube censors that may be watching right now, this is a news and commentary show once again. I'm going to give the other side. This is Supreme Leader Dr. Fauci.
Who always gives both sides.
Yeah, I mean, his
mouth.
So this is Supreme Leader Dr. Fauci. I'm going to let him give his side. So these are actual clips from Dr. Fauci talking about the masks. I just want to be fair and give both sides.
People should not be walking around with masks. Let me just state for the record that masks are not theater. Wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and masks are protective. But it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is.
There has not been any indication that putting a mask on and wearing a mask for a considerable period of time has any deleterious effects.
There are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Of course.
You do not need to wear a mask indoors if, in fact, you've been vaccinated. Good that you're vaccinated, but in a situation where you have people indoors, particularly crowded, you should wear a mask.
So even if you are vaccinated, you should wear a mask. If in fact you are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you are protected, and you do not need to wear a mask outdoors or indoors. When the children go out into the community, you want them to continue to wear masks.
You know, if you look at children outside, particularly when they're with the family, walking down the street, playing a game or what have you, don't have to wear a mask.
The pediatric, the Academy of Pediatric actually makes that recommendation that children should be wearing masks from 2 years old onward.
And you're asking now, if your child is a member of your household, can you walk outdoors with your child without a mask? According to that chart, the answer is yes.
But the child can't, not to beat it to death.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Because now the CDC says, I mean, I think I've got this right. 1 mask is better than 0 masks. 2 masks is better than 1 mask. But you don't have to have double masks. Is that right? I mean,
you know, it became clear that cloth coverings that you didn't have to buy in a store, that you could make yourself, were adequate. And then you want it to fit better. So one of the ways you could do it, if you would like to, is put a cloth mask over, which actually here and here and here, where you could get leakage in, is much better contained.
And are you a double masker, Dr. Fauci? It looked like you are.
And there you go. So there is the other side playing Supreme Leader Dr. Fauci's own words about the mask. I hope that is allowable by the censors and everything over here on YouTube. We're just letting both sides be heard.
From his own mouth.
From his own mouth.
Both sides.
That's exactly, both sides of his mouth. So that is what Dr. Fauci has said. There's some clips, and we'll just play some more of Dr. Paul right here, his commentary.
Local bureaucrats and union bosses, we will not allow you to do more harm to our children again this year. Children are not at any more risk from COVID than they are from the seasonal flu. Every adult who works in schools has either had the vaccine or had their chance to get vaccinated. There is no reason for mask mandates, part-time schools, or any lockdown measures. Children are falling behind in school and are being harmed physically and psychologically by the tactics that you have used to keep them from the classroom during the last year. We won't allow it again. If a school system attempts to keep children from full-time in-person school, I will hold up every bill with 2 amendments, one to defund them and another to allow parents the choice of where the money goes for their child's education. Do I sound fed up to you? That's because I am. I'm not a career politician. I practiced medicine for 33 years. I graduated from Duke Medical School. I've worked in emergency rooms. I've studied immunology and virology. And I ultimately chose to become an eye surgeon. I've been telling everyone for a year now that Dr. Fauci and other public health bureaucrats were not following the science, and I've been proven right time and time again. But I'm not the only one who's fed up. I can't go anywhere these days without people coming up and thanking me for standing up for them, whether I'm at work or at events in Kentucky, at airports, in restaurants, or in stores. People thank me for taking a stand. They thank me for standing up for actual science, for standing up for freedom, for standing against mandates, lockdowns, and bureaucratic power grabs. I think the tide is turning as more and more people are willing to stand up. I see stories from across the country of parents standing up to the unions and school boards. I see brave moms standing up and saying, my kids need to go back to school in person. I see members of Congress refusing to comply with petty tyrant Pelosi. We are at a moment of truth and a crossroads. Will we allow these people to use fear and propaganda to do further harm to our society, economy, and children? Or will we stand together and say, absolutely not. Not this time. I choose freedom.
And there you go. So that was Dr. Paul, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. I love it. I think it's beautifully done. Dr. Paul, we've had your dad on before, and we love your dad, and we love you, and we're grateful for you and grateful for the stand that you're taking. You know, one of the benefits, let's talk about the amazing things of Providence here. Public education centers government education centers are indoctrination facilities that are indoctrinating children on a foreign worldview. That needs to be understood. They have a worldview. They have a view of ethics. They have a view of origins that they teach. They have a view of art and literature and science, all of that. It's a worldview. And so people who are sending their children, particularly Christians who are sending their children to government schools, government education, need to understand that these are indoctrination facilities that are training your children. How many hours a day? 7 hours a day?
7 to 8,
6 to 8 hours a day, maybe somewhere in that range. They are training your children on a worldview, a perspective of life, themselves, the future, everything. It's soup to nuts. I mean, you're talking about everything from preschool all the way up to 12th grade. You're talking about an entire worldview being handed to your child. And so we asked the question, like, why is this last generation so loosey-goosey with sexual ethics? And why do they think the way that they do? Why do they believe this perspective about origins? It's because it was delivered to them. It was handed to them. It was fed to them throughout this 12-year experience of education in government schools. And so the one place, of course, and I think Rand Paul would respect this, the one place we disagree with Rand Paul in terms of the education system is that I don't want kids going to get government education because it's a foreign worldview. Jesus says you're either with me or you're against me. There's no neutrality with Christ. And when it comes to knowledge, in Scripture, it says that Jesus Christ is the foundation of knowledge. Apart from Christ, there is no wisdom. There is no real knowledge. Apart from Christ, you can't have it. And so Christianity ruled the world in terms of a rigorous, strong, amazing education practice in history. As a matter of fact, not very long ago, there wasn't public government education. It was all private. It was private schools. It was homeschooling. Some of the greats in American history, just in our own nation here, were all homeschooled, privately educated. And oftentimes you would have little co-op groups happening in a town where you just had the Christian communities coming together and saying, who's the best person with literature in our town? Okay, she'll teach this. Who's the person who's the best at science here? Okay, let her teach this over here, and you go to her. Or you went to the church, and the pastor was the most educated person in the town, and he trained and taught people in the town. That's how you were educated. And education was done like that. Now we've gone to government education, public schools, and now everyone's like, what do I do with my kid? What do I do? I love the providence of God in that COVID has at least been useful in allowing children to get out of government schools and into homeschool education or private school education, Christian school education. And so I love seeing the posts of people who, because of COVID, said, I've decided after this last year of homeschooling my child, I'm going to pull them out of school and just homeschool them. It's so different than what I thought it was. Yeah. And all these little communities, these Christian communities forming across our nation that have only formed for Christian education as a result of COVID. I love the providence of God. Get your kids out of government education schools. And by the way, one of the benefits of getting out of government schools is that you don't have to listen to their nonsense about masks and torturing your children. Can you imagine a 6-year-old child struggling to breathe for hours upon hours upon hours a day? I mean, I've seen these kids doing interviews talking about, I can't breathe all day long. I'm dizzy. I can't breathe. I can't catch my breath. It's hurting these kids. And we're talking about making these babies wear these masks. I mean, 2 years old and up, 2 years old and up. Anybody have a 2-year-old? You ever had one? Putting a mask on a 2-year-old? Are you serious? Talking about, I've even had family members talk about being on a short plane ride, and being forced to put a mask on a 2-year-old who's just turned 2, and they don't understand. They can't understand why you're saying, hey, I want you to struggle to breathe for the next hour and a half. They can't understand why I can't breathe. Why can't I take this thing off? So I feel like you're leaning into the conversation when I say add something to that.
Oh no, I just raised my hand because obviously I have an almost.
No, I'd love to hear from you on this particular one. I think it's abusive to force a child who's not at the kind of risk that's necessary to wear a mask, like on an airplane or at school for hours a day. I think it's abusive to children because Dr. Paul is right. When you look at the statistics and you look at the numbers, and this has been admitted to by the CDC and by all these medical bureaucrats, it's been admitted to that these children are not at the kind of risk that is concerning. It's a fallen world. People do die. And yes, sometimes those numbers, we do have kids that die, rarely from this, but this is not a utopia. It's a fallen world, and we can't shut down the world and abuse everybody for the slight chance that somebody might die. We don't follow that rule every day when we're driving. You still drive to work. You still drive to the grocery store.
Well, and just so you know, there was a large portion of 2020 where you still, just based off of the numbers, statistically had a higher chance of dying in a car accident than you did from COVID. Yeah. Obviously, it's different now that we've had, more time has passed. But there was a large portion of time where you were engaging in that risk every single time. You were afraid for COVID, but you had just as much of a chance of dying in a car accident than you did of COVID, but you still willingly got into your car.
I have to live. I have to provide. I have to work. I have the right to enjoy the world and take delight in what God's created. I have the freedom to travel. And
I just don't want to hear from our government that they just really care about our kids' safety.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, the same government that kills them in mass.
Yeah.
Right?
I was so my mom actually teaches preschool in the Gary Public School system in Indiana, and her building doesn't have AC because the thugs in the neighborhood keep coming and stealing the AC units. And so she's got 4 and 5-year-olds that have to wear masks with no AC.
Oh my!
In August,
goodness.
My mom. I talked to her yesterday. Yesterday was her birthday. Happy birthday, Mom! They canceled school for her building only because it was so unbearable in there. Like people were passing out, and these poor little 4 and 5-year-olds are having to wear masks. So this isn't just stuff we're making up. It's legit. But I was I know we're running out of time here. I was just gonna say, in regards to the last thing he said there about schools, obviously one, we would say get your kids out of government schools, But I love the fact that he threw in there, like, if you, I'm gonna defund the public school system, or give parents the right to choose where their money goes, which is huge, because that's why we don't own our homes, because we have to pay property taxes to fund the government schools.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm all for either one of those.
If you've already stolen my money, if you've already taken my money through coercion, which is what property taxes are, it's coercive taxation, it's unjust. If you've already taken my money through coercion and forced me to not be able to ever actually own land because I'm always paying rent on it, then I ought to have a right to decide where that money goes. Like, for example, let's say, Luke, he is paying property taxes, so he's funding the public schools via coercion in his area, but his children are homeschooled.
Right.
So where's the benefit to his children? It's just money being taken via coercion from Pastor Luke to fund something he doesn't actually agree with. That's coercion. Yep. It doesn't matter if it's done by somebody in a black robe with a fancy pen. It's still theft. Theft is theft, whether you're wearing a black robe or not. Sometimes it's black pajamas and a black hoodie. Other times it's a black robe. But the point is that he ought to have the right to say, hey, if you're going to steal my money, then let me decide where it goes to my kids. I like Rand Paul's solution there.
Yeah.
If you stole my money, I'll take some of it back so I can use it for the benefit of my children, which is what it was supposed to do in the first place before you took it. So I do really appreciate that. Yeah, that's a big praise to God for that one.
Yeah.
But we're in a new place right now because it was 14 days to flatten the curve. And now it is August 2021. And now, and there's good questions to be asked about all this, there are variants, really, really bad variants that are going around. Now, I have questions and I have answers as to why that may be the case. But here's the point. We're in a new place now where what happened before in terms of lockdowns, masking, and everything else didn't seem to work. And so should we follow the advice of the people who actually put us in this position in the first place and destroyed the economy of the world and destroyed lives? Let's just admit that. They destroyed a lot of lives, a lot of lives. Should we listen to them again, or should we actually use our heads, look at the actual data and science, and actually respond this time in a different way? Should the American public just submit to the tyrannical rule of a government that's saying, no, I know we've contradicted ourselves 15 times since Sunday, but go ahead and do this again now. I want you to make it hard for your child to breathe for 6 hours a day. I
know that last year our healthcare workers were first responders and they were frontline
heroes,
providing frontline care. But now, if they won't get a vaccination,
they're villains.
They're going to be fired from potentially, depending on their level of education. A decade of education, just whatever.
And
this career that you built for yourself to do forever, because that's what nurses do. When a person becomes a nurse, their plan is to be a nurse.
Right.
It's not just like, oh, I'll see if I'll like it.
Right.
It's intensive study, money, sometimes a graduate program, and you're basically just. So last year, when they were showing up still without adequate protection, and they were dealing with people who actually they were the highest risk for COVID. They were heroes. And now if they won't do what you want,
you hate us. You hate us.
Yeah.
You're a hateful person. You were the hero last year. Now you hate everyone.
Right.
Why do you hate your neighbor? Why do you hate your neighbor? Maybe they're looking at the data. I don't know. I'm just throwing this out there because I know YouTube censors might be watching. I'm just saying, maybe they're looking at the data and they're saying, I don't know, I'm looking at sort of like the results of this vaccine globally, and I'm just concerned. I'm concerned for my life. I'm concerned for my children's life. I'm concerned.
And I feel like people in medicine, some of them obviously don't, but they're exposed regularly to the importance of informed consent and people making their own healthcare decisions, and they see the importance of that all the time. Some people don't see the importance of it. A lot of people in the medical field think you should just do whatever they say.
Right.
And then you have another portion of people in the medical field that think you should be able to make decisions for yourself.
Right.
I'm just saying the Hippocratic Oath supports one of those,
Do no
and
harm.
not the other.
Do no harm, baby. So Now on to a recommendation. We love good movies. The Christian Church actually provided an amazing framework, an atmosphere for art and literature and music and architecture and history. It's amazing what the Christian faith contributed to the world in terms of beauty, truth, goodness, all that. And we actually were dominating in sort of like propagation of Christian truth in terms of media for a very, very long time. We were, in the past, God's people would take gold from the Egyptians. And now the Egyptians have taken our gold and they've just run off with it. And seemingly we've just handed it over to them. So all that to say, we love good stories, we love good literature, we love good movies, and I'd love to see Christians, filmmakers raising up to make amazing stories and movies. We love movies, and one of the movies that Joy has been so hateful about over the last decade of her life is The Apostle. The Apostle, she refuses. It's 10 years of sinful rebellion. She refuses to watch it. And this is one of our favorites, at least Pastor Luke and I. It's one of our favorites.
Most of the world.
Yes. Most people who don't have hateful dark hearts, they love the Apostle.
Are you saying that if I don't agree with you, I have a hateful dark heart?
Hey, I learned a lot from the government in the last year. Okay, some new strategies and tactics of arguing.
If you want someone to do what you want them to do,
yes,
just bully them.
Yeah, and I hope everyone catches how facetiously I'm actually making this
argument. Trying to coerce you into watching.
But another film that many of you guys maybe don't even know about. The poster's up over here. I don't know if you can see it. If we have a camera angle, you can see that.
We do.
Yes, you do.
If Isaac would switch it.
There you
yeah,
go.
I was going to say, I think maybe the Luke
it is
shot.
Gentlemen Broncos. Now, we actually, I think all of us really appreciate this film. We love Flight of the Conchords. I think they're brilliant. They're hilarious. But this delicious film here, Gentlemen Broncos. By the way, people say that, like, why do you call like a concept or a thing, like a statement, why do you call that delicious? I'm saying that's totally biblical, baby. Like,
a biblical baby?
It's biblical. God says, taste and see that the Lord is good. So in other words, like, that's a biblical way of speaking. This movie is delicious. Taste and see. It's delicious. It is made by the director of Nacho Libre and Napoleon Dynamite.
Nacho Libre is one of my favorite movies, too.
I haven't seen it.
Are you serious?
I haven't seen Nacho Libre.
You're giving her a hard time about that, and you haven't seen Nacho?
Not that I won't watch it. I'm not being sinful.
You need to go home.
Rebellious. I'm just saying I haven't watched it.
You need to go home and watch Nacho Libre.
Okay.
It is seriously one of my favorite movies. My kids love it. I've seen it probably 10 times.
Okay.
Right? Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
No, and
I really like
based
Nacho Libre.
upon your loving recommendation to watch a film that I will enjoy, I will watch Nacho Libre. There are people in this world that you'll say this movie is good. It has a good concept, and like it's just beautifully done. Great acting. It's just well done. And there are people that are like, I'm not doing it. Well, why wouldn't you do it? Just digging their heels.
Just for pride.
Just pure,
unadulterated pride.
Cinematic pride, baby. So, Napoleon Dynamite, Gentlemen Broncos. It is an amazing film, and I wanted to just play for you guys the clip that got us so excited about this movie. It just randomly dropped. It was like...
It was a while before the movie came out.
It was a while.
We're like, what is this?
We're like, what is happening? This is wonderful, because we loved Flight of the Conchords, and so we were like, what is Jermaine doing in this film? It made no sense, and there was no context, and that's what I love about it, is it made you think, like, who is this character? What is happening? And so this is the trailer. It was the first trailer for Gentlemen Broncos. It's called. His name is Dr. Ronald Chevalier. Dr. Ronald Chevalier. And this is all they dropped. This is all it was, and with no context or explanation.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ronald Chevalier. I wrote such titles as The Cyborg Harpies, Hagborgs, and the spin-off novella Hagball. Sometimes when writing these works of fiction, I feel so stressed out. If I write a battle scene, it is as though I have been involved in the melee myself. I find I need to turn to the art of relaxating. I'm going to take you through a few exercises that I use to clear my mind. Now, grasp your ankles and bring them close to your groinal axis. As close as possible without threatening your seed. If it helps, imagine that your ankles are two snakes trying to get away, or trying to get at your precious seed, but you won't let them. That should be just about right. Now, in this stance, just picture a giant ball between your legs. And this ball starts to form an ocean and countries. It's an entire planet between your legs. Just imagine life beginning on the planet. All the little creatures answer to you.
That was it. It was like, what is Dr. Ronald?
Because remember, he had his own YouTube channel, Dr. Ronald Chevalier, so we had no idea what it was.
They did like a whole thing, yeah.
So I just showed, the reason this came up is I showed my daughters this for the first time, and they were, well, one of my oldest was on the floor crying, laughing. My other one, because it's so awkward, was just like, didn't know what to do.
Stressed her out.
But it's been a while since I watched it, and I never realized how LDS this movie is, because I'm pretty sure the producer or somebody involved is LDS, because I know in Napoleon Dynamite in real life he's LDS, right?
Yeah, I think yeah.
So like, go back and watch it. There's like so many things in there, and I was like, oh my goodness, that is like, there's like the Mormon Jesus on the wall. They're eating Navajo tacos, like all this stuff.
Oh wow!
And it's in Utah.
Yeah, that's right.
And
that's
so
right,
like, I never caught it before, and then I watch this, and I'm like, oh my goodness, there's like one thing after another. Like, that is so Mormon. Anyways, just little.
You know, the thing that I really love about Napoleon Dynamite and Gentlemen Broncos, what I really love about it is it's so comedic, but it's kind of Coen Brothers-esque, where it's like it's very comedic, but it's filmed like a drama.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seems serious.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is that it's something you can actually watch with your family and your kids. It'll make you laugh. The characters are so well thought out, and they're so strange. And there's not
it's
just
so awkward.
There's not a bunch of obscene. There's cussing. Like, you don't have to. There's no nasty sexual scenes, nothing like that. It's just an enjoyable, fun movie that you laugh at, and the characters are just so ridiculous. Like Sam Rockwell. I love Sam Rockwell. I think he is absolutely undeniably brilliant as an actor. And in this film, he is hilarious. I mean, he plays the tranny Bronco.
Brutus.
And
Brutus
is it Brutus?
Is the tranny.
That's right, Brutus. And then you have Bronco.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's such a good film, and it is something that you can watch with your family. I will say this, I just want to warn you, there are a lot of people that are going to hate this movie.
Including Isaac.
They're going to hate it. Because
it's weird.
It's weird.
It's weird, and it is awkward. There are we were talking about this before the show started. There are people that have a very low threshold for awkwardness. Like,
right.
Some people don't like The Office at all because it makes them feel like just cringy.
Yeah. Give them anxiety.
Yeah.
And you were saying that the scene that you can't watch in The Office.
Oh, well, yeah. That's why. Well, yeah, Scott's Tots. I've only ever seen that episode once, and I can't ever see it again because it's just way too horrible.
Hey, Mr. Scott, what you gonna do? What you gonna do? Make our dreams come true. And he's just like crying. He's like, oh my gosh.
By the way,
Jared
Fawcett did verify. Jared Hess did those. He's LDS, so he did all those films.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was pretty sure.
Yeah.
From
Go back and watch it, dude. I'm telling you, you're gonna.
I'm totally excited now.
You're gonna
to
see
watch
all these
the
things.
Mormon stuff. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. It's such a good film, but some of you guys are going to hate it, and I apologize. We will make more recommendations of films we can all love together and enjoy together and talk about together, but this happens to be one of our favorites. I just think it's brilliantly done, and Gentlemen Broncos, go check it out. All right, final words, anybody? Want to say anything?
This was a fun, great show.
Great show. ApologiaStudios.com is where you guys go to get more. ApologiaStudios.com, APOLOGIA Studios.com. Sign up for All Access. Partner with us in our ministry. You're making everything we do possible. And get your free Bonson U account. Go and get Bonson U today. Go sign up and get Bonson U. You are going to get fed. You are going to love what you're learning. It is so, so good. We are even making improvements as we go along. We're even in talks about, for each lecture, transcribing it so that you can listen to it and have it downloaded so you can read the text itself. We're investing so much in Bonson U, and it is absolutely free. Thank you to the Bonson family again. That's Luke the Bear.
Peace out.
Joy the Girl.
See ya.
I'm Jeff the Coleman and Ninja. We'll catch you next week right here on Apologia Radio.